The city of Cape Town could run out of water by March next year. This is according to the city's mayor, Patricia de Lille. Now, currently, the dams are standing at 27% of usable water. Residents of the metro have been warned to reduce their daily water consumption or they face being fined up to 10,000 rand. This also poses some legal questions as to who can be fined, when, and how much. So to take this discussion further, I'm joined by Terry Winstanley. She's the Director and Head of Environmental Law Practice at Cliffe, Dekker and Hofmeyr, who is in our Sea Point studio. Good to have you, Terry. Thank you very much for joining us here on the program.
Thank you for having me, Leah.
The city standing at level 5 water restrictions. Basically, what does this mean and what are the laws around these water restrictions?
So as you correctly pointed out, we only have 27% of usable water left in our dams. So what that means is somewhere between March and April of next year, we'll run out of water unless we significantly reduce our water consumption daily. And also the city is going to need to supplement the current water supplies, either with desalination, water derived from the sea, or with groundwater, or potentially both. So for those of us who are not complying with those requirements, the city has controls and the national government has controls. You can be fined up to 10,000 rand under the city's bylaws. You can also have your water restricted. It's called a throttling device. And then you will only get a minimum quantity of water going through your water supply system. And then the national government also has controls regarding the use of water for domestic, agricultural and industrial purposes, together with fines for not complying with those requirements.
Yeah. So the current water limit, if we have a look at these restrictions in place, is 87 litres per day. That's per person per day in the city. Is that correct? Or is that per household?
That's correct, yes.
Is that per household?
No, that's per person.
So per person?
No, it's per person.
Okay, and then the city also wants to reduce the water consumption to 500 million litres a day overall. What are the legalities of these water restrictions?
Well, they are absolutely legal and can be enforced and are being enforced. In addition, because we aren't properly complying with them, the city is now conducting water shedding, where areas just don't have water. If you turn on your tap, nothing comes out.
Yeah. Gosh. All right. Now, what is the South African regulations around rationing water, since, of course, this is a basic human right as well?
It is a basic human right, which is why it would be difficult for the city to completely chop off someone's water unless there simply isn't any, in which case, at the next stage of water restrictions, we will be required to gather at collection points to collect water. And obviously this will have catastrophic consequences for industry, which clearly can't be doing that if it's a water-intensive activity that's being conducted by a given industry.
Yeah, and also the legality of the city enforcing fines between 5,000 and 10,000 rand. Again, that's something I imagine that is legal and that will or is being enforced currently.
Yes, that is being enforced. The national water restrictions are potentially more problematic. Those are the ones that require agricultural, industrial and domestic sectors to reduce their water by between 20 and 40% compared with the average calculated over the last 5 years. Those, I think, are potentially problematic, although if one establishes that they were unlawfully introduced, it doesn't make the problem go away.
And the city cutting water supply to those who violate the level 5. I know that you said that there's a device that can obviously bring the flow of water down, but can they cut the water supply if people keep on abusing it?
Well, there's constitutional case law that says you can't completely cut it, but so I think it's unlikely that it would be permanently cut, but other restrictions would be implemented, including what I described as that throttling device.
Yeah, it's quite incredible when you look at the extent of what's going on in Cape Town. And I'm even reading articles that the army is ready to deploy soldiers to protect water sources, water carrying trucks and collection points. As is expected, Cape Town's water supply runs out within the next 6 months. Have we ever seen a situation like this before, in your knowledge?
Not to my knowledge, and not in a city the size of Cape Town anywhere in the world.
Yeah. So the reality is that what can we do? What must we do? Because I mean, obviously we're talking, it's rain that's been lacking. The season has gone to an end. But as a, I suppose you're more of a law expert. But from the environmental side, what can we as consumers and people living in the city do?
Just use less water. You still see people washing their cars with drinking water.
Yeah.
We just need to make sure that we use as little as we can, and that which we use, we must use again. So save your shower water. Use it for putting on the plants. You must use water more than once.
Indeed. All right, we'll have to leave it there for this morning, but thank you for talking to us about the legalities of what's happening in Cape Town right now. There are fines, level 5 water restrictions, the army set to deploy water stations. I mean, this is a very dramatic situation, and as you heard from Terry, that in her knowledge and in her history, she's never seen a situation like this in a major city before. Terry Winstanley is the director and head of the environmental law practice at Cliffe, Dekker, Hofmeyr, talking to us about the legality of the water restrictions in Cape Town. Let us take a break. We've got more.